We now have the honor of receiving Miss Princess Angelique Monet. Using arts and literature, how can we generate interest and provide support for various endeavors aimed at women youth empowerment, combating poverty, and curbing human trafficking?
Okay. Well, first of all, I would like to greet you in the name of peace, in the name of love. Let's just take a moment to give silence to our ancestors and those who came before us that made it possible for us to be where we are today. Women are the gatekeepers of peace. It is within this genetic nature that we are able to hold the key components to the peacemaking policies. Now, as a Pan-African, part Native American, 400 years ago through the transatlantic slave trade, my ancestors came here, and also Native American, I can say that the indigenous people, specifically the women, held the peacemaking policies. Did you know that in the Native American tribes, women were the leaders? Women were the elders. Women held the peacemaking policies amongst others to be able to be the diplomacies, the diplomatics. Now, as we get into arts and culture, one of the things that I like to say, I had a learning disability. I didn't know how to read, I didn't know how to write, I didn't know how to do anything. And it was the arts that opened up my mind to the piano. And I went from an education of actually a first grade education in the 5th grade to being ready for high school. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was women empowerment, because it was those women who encouraged me every day. You know, Angel, you can talk, you can do it. You can believe in yourself. It was the women, the strong elders in my family that taught me. I had the component to do this. And through this, I want to pay it forward. Leave no one behind. So as we approach the United Nations mission to leave no one behind, we must approach women empowerment through a variety of areas, hand-on. From my research, through my trials, through my tribulations, I can say we must preserve our culture. We must have a protection of resources where our elders are never forgotten. We must never forget our elders. We must bring people along, as Her Excellency said. Thank you, well said. And we must first remember our children. The youth are our future, and providing resources for girls and women in rural and inner city communities and underrepresented, underserved communities, we can discuss these platforms. Now, in looking at youth, we must understand that the arts is the gatekeeper. It is the arts that our ancient ancestors used for peace, dialogue. History means his story. As we look at education and educational platforms like our beautiful hostess, Dr. Queen Blessing, we see that we can tell our story. If we don't tell our story, then guess what? Someone else will. Now, the arts is the beacon of our ancient ancestors. When we look at women, we look at Queen Sheba. We look at the fact that the men in Rome and Greece, through ancient literature and arts, used to pray to Queen Athena. So what happened along the way? What happened along the way that the indigenous cultures forgot that women were the beacon of light? We look at westernizing cultures. We look at multiculturalism, and we see that this is being lost. But how many of the women are now rising up? Let's give a hand for this. It is not only the world. It is not only us. It is our environment. Our environment is saying that women, girls, are the peacemaking policies. We must understand that though we are now in a patriotic society, it was the woman, men, from whence you came. So seeing in the beginning all the men standing up for the women, it it made my speech a lot easier because that way I don't really have to say much to you. But women, I will also say one thing. We must teach our men, and we must be strong for our men as well. Even though we're focusing on an era now of women empowerment, we must also be a beacon of light for the men, for the little boys. Because women, by empowering the man, we can empower ourselves. Now, the beautiful thing is that many before me have said what I'd love to say in your film, okay, spoke a lot about it. I've used the arts through film, through fashion, through encouraging artisans, through economic sustainability around the world, working with the Nollywood industry, which is the second largest industry in the world for economic sustainability. It is the arts and the artisan arts that hold the gatekeeper information, and through training, through encouragement, through leaving no one behind, we are able to do this. Now, I saw someone look at me like, what does she mean, history, our story? If you spell history, it spells his story, okay? So one of the reasons why I'm very honored to be here today is through literature, through the arts, through telling the stories of our ancestors, through telling our story, we are able to preserve these cultures, and we are able to build everyone up so that there is a paper trail left behind. So I encourage each and every one of you to love each other, to build ourselves up, and for the men to remember, it is a woman from whence you came from. So, it is that ability. It is called Mother Nature for a reason. Okay? And when we get away from these things, this is why the world and our environment and other issues are where they're at. So I want to thank you, and to our distinguished panelists, thank you so much for having me today, and to all of our guests, thank you for being with us.